Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barto. Let's take a look at the headlines. Attorney General says Trinidad and Tobago has emerged victorious in the offshore petrol vessels dispute. Minister of Tertiary Education and Skills Training believes that small startup businesses can add to securing a stable economic and financial future for Trinidad and Tobago. And 23 former permanent secretaries and heads of department have been recognized for their contribution to the public service. Thank you for joining us. Attorney General Senator the Honorable Alan Ramlogan says Trinidad and Tobago has emerged victorious in the offshore petrol vessels dispute. He adds that this victory is significant to the people of this country and dispelled all reports that the government will have to pay back monstrous amounts of money to the BAE systems. The minister was speaking to reporters at his headquarters.
The minister says when the People's Partnership came into office in 2012, there was serious problems with the OPV project. Apart from the delay, he adds, there was a serious problem with the combat system, which didn't conform to the contract specification. This delay, together with the continuing failure on the part of BAE Systems to remedy the deficiency, prompted government to serve notice of cancellation on BAE to terminate the contract. The minister assures that an agreement between the government and the BAE has been reached.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm pleased to announce that BAE System, as per the settlement agreement, BAE System has agreed to pay the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago the sum of $1.382 billion in settlement of our claim against BAE. The government of Trinidad and Tobago has agreed to pay BAE Systems not one red cent.
The minister says he's pleased that the situation has been settled amicably, and for the benefit of the nation, the settlement amount is TT $1.382 billion. The minister adds that after payments for the loan are paid off, the government will end up with a surplus of $340.9 million. The money spent on allocated for repayments will be used to build hospitals, schools, and roads.
Furthermore, after we've paid off this loan, because the monies will be applied to paying off the loan, the monies which would have been allocated to service the loan payments, that money can now be utilized on other projects. Because we have paid off these loans early, we have been able to get a windfall or a bonus, and we will therefore save $57.149 million, which would have otherwise gone in interest payments given the duration of the loan.
The AG underscores that Trinidad and Tobago has therefore emerged victorious in the dispute. This settlement, he says, is a significant victory for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, far from having to pay the BAE any money, noting that we have come out of the transaction with TT $1.382 billion.
Trinidad and Tobago has done well, and Trinidad and Tobago should be proud of standing up to one of the world's strongest and mightiest defense companies, and to have done so with success. The repayment schedule for those loans, for those OPVs, would have been a yoke around the necks of our children for decades to come. We would have mortgaged their very future into this project. As a result of this settlement, what we have done now is to free up some money in the Treasury so that we can now use that money to fund some other projects that the People's Partnership have, including the Couva Children's Hospital, the building of new police stations, and of course, they need to remedy the infrastructure and build more roads.
The AG says TNT has been able to enhance its rich diplomatic ties and relations with the embassy and government of the United Kingdom, and in light of the support provided to him in his efforts to settle the matter expeditiously. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
Mucurapo Girls RC Primary School celebrated Trinidad and Tobago's 50th independence with a patriotic display depicting our nation's past and road to becoming an independent nation. The project saw the participation of local government ministry that supplied billboards for the run of the display. The Honorable Dr. Suraj Ratan Rambachan visited the school's exhibit and commended the teachers for using new techniques in educating younger generations.
Students of the Mucurapo Girls RC Primary School got a glimpse into the past before Trinidad and Tobago became an independent nation. A display showcasing the events that led up to this country becoming independent and what it means to be a nation were put on by students of the school in an effort to become more educated of our past. The project was one that saw the participation of the local government ministry, as billboards on the 50th anniversary were loaned to the school. Local Government Minister Dr. Suraj Ratan Rambachan says he was delighted by the invite from the school and its jump towards teaching students outside of textbooks.
What I was very impressed with in terms of the celebration of the 50th anniversary were the projects done by the children. If you had a chance to examine the projects, you'll see the depth of research that these children have done, whether it be sporting heroes, whether it be leaders at the level of the presidents or prime ministers or what have you. And also, other aspects of the country. There's a display here called Remember When, and I thought it was such a detailed display in terms of what these children are doing. What it points to is that our children are very bright, and our teachers are doing a very good job of giving them an all-round education.
The project was one that commenced at the beginning of the school term and led to various teachings on the road to independence and the years that followed. Principal at the school, Anne-Marie Boyson, says the assignment brought students together in hopes the display would serve to inspire others.
So it actually brought the information to light to the girls. The first-hand information, they were able to see what they were learning in the classrooms. And not only our girls, but we reached out to other schools in our area and the general public. So the parents and anybody who comes into our school, you actually see them stand and read the board. So that's a positive for us.
One student, Danielle Bailey, explains what the project meant to her and gave some of the impressions of how she felt Trinidad and Tobago was prior to independence.
Well, I think back then we wouldn't have had as much freedom as we have now. We would have to do less things than we wanted to do. And everything was designed to be kind of like the Queen. I have learned about the past of Trinidad and how it was like when my mother was growing up. I've learned about the different ways they used to dress back then, with the very long dress all down to your ankle. The houses were a lot different, they were very small, and only the people with a lot of money had the nice fancy stuff.
The school's display will run until the end of the month. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
Stay with us. Senator the Honorable Fazal Karim, Minister of Tertiary Education and Skills Training, believes that small startup businesses will be the organizations which will secure a stable economic and financial future for Trinidad and Tobago. Minister Karim expresses this sentiment at the launch of the first Business Startup Expo being held at the Center of Excellence in Mokoya.
The Business Startup Expo is being put on as part of Global Entrepreneurship Week. The expo is aimed at members of the public who are interested in starting or expanding a business and business students from secondary and tertiary education institutions. Persons in attendance will be advised what are the necessary steps and how to go about starting a small business or how to successfully expand an already operational one. Exhibitors at the expo will advise potential and current business owners on areas such as business registration, product design, target markets, and financing. Minister Karim explains that new business startups are usually the ones which create jobs and revolutionary technology innovations. He says this is why the government has taken steps to ensure the process of starting a business is made simpler.
The government of Trinidad and Tobago has taken steps to reduce the clearing times at the nation's ports from an average of 14 to 19 days to 2 days, and to significantly reduce the times to register and incorporate a new business from 43 days to 3 days. We have passed legislation for electronic transaction, which governs electronic record keeping and authentications, such as e-signatures. I'm also advised that the work that has started or was started by our ministry, now that is renamed and reconfigured, the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Tertiary Education, and now that we have a successor ministry headed by Dr. Rupert Griffith, Minister of Science and Technology, that this ministry continues the work that we started and is in the process of completing legislation that will govern E and M payments. All of these will give support to small business startups.
Senator Karim adds that the government is also attempting to foster business culture through education.
The University of Trinidad and Tobago, whose mission since 2004 is to be an entrepreneurial university, is now focusing more of its resources on entrepreneurial development. UTT, in my view, must not only graduate students, but must graduate firms, must graduate businesses. You just need to see what is happening at Stanford, what is happening at MIT, what is happening at Harvard, and you'll read about the number of startup businesses while students are at school and when they graduate. From the in-class instruction to restarting the co-op program, the student experience must be deliberate when it comes to understanding how to move from an idea concept to planning and starting a new business.
Organizations which will be on hand to offer advice at the expo include the Agricultural Development Bank, the Arthur Lockjack Graduate School of Business, the Chaguaramas Development Authority, the College of Science, Technology and Applied Arts of Trinidad and Tobago, COSTAT, the National Entrepreneurship Development Company, NEDCO, the National Financial Literacy Program, the National Training Agency, Public Service Credit Union Cooperative Society, and the University of Trinidad and Tobago. Meanwhile, Minister Karim also once again addressed concerns surrounding the Government Assistance for Tertiary Expenses, or GATE program, saying it has not and will not be discontinued. He explains it is instead the opposite, with the program actually being expanded.
We will secure and expand the GATE program. I want to assure you that the GATE program is secure, well, and safe, and as for the first time in the history of this country, expanded to include technical and vocational education and training. We are going to continue to strengthen the GATE program and to ensure that all beneficiaries meet and exceed our goals for the tertiary sector of achieving an enrollment target and surpassing, if possible, by 2015, 60% participation rate in the tertiary sector.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
23 permanent former secretaries and heads of departments have been recognized for their contribution to the public service. The function took place at the Hyatt Regency Ballroom, Port of Spain.
The Ministry of Public Administration hosted the ceremony to pay tribute to the former permanent secretaries and heads of department who served this country and retired during the period 2007 to 2012. Minister of Public Administration Carolyn Sipasad-Bechan expresses her gratitude to the public service stalwarts for their years of dedication and hard work. She also notes their contribution to the public service will always be remembered as they have left a platform which can be built upon. She suggests that their hard work has not been in vain as they will continue to contribute to the future of the public service.
All of you here tonight, regardless of where you started, have served our country with great distinction. You have almost literally carried the flag of Trinidad and Tobago forward into the future. You are the jewels in our public service crown and have helped to create what we call the gold standard on which we will now build the diamond standard that we have set as our goal for the next 10 years.
Meanwhile, retired permanent secretary to several ministries, Jacqueline Wilson, speaking on behalf of all the honorees, says they were all glad to be of service to their beloved nation of Trinidad and Tobago. She explains that while the job was never an easy one, it is an opportunity which was relished and done to the best of their ability. She also offered words of advice to those who would ultimately take their places at the helm of the various arms of the public service. Ms. Wilson advises that some qualities are necessary if they are to continue to build the public service into what it is supposed to be.
Authenticity, know yourself, be true to yourself and develop your emotional intelligence. Empathy, be able to walk in other people's shoes, feel their pain, feel their frustration, see their hopelessness, and take these things into account in your planning and in your actions. Listen, communicate, and provide feedback. Be a role model, be punctual, be regular, wake up and show up. Do not be an absentee landlord. Get to know the subject matter of your ministry, even if it is not within your area of expertise, and lead as appropriate to the situation, sometimes from the front, from the middle, or from the back. Model the behavior you want in your ministry and set the tone. Take care, take special care of your employees. They are your most important resource for success.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
And just a correction, that should be former permanent secretaries. Sport is up right after the break. Stay with us. At stumps on day 2, the West Indies are in a commanding position in the first test versus Bangladesh being contested in Mirpur. The regional team built on the foundation set by day 1 century maker Kieran Powell by adding 2 more triple-figure scores. Veteran Shivnarine Chandipol notched his second career double century. This, coupled with a fine 126 not out from wicketkeeper Dinesh Ramdin, took the Windies to over 500 runs. The 296 run stand between the two is the second highest 5th wicket stand for West Indies. The highest is 322 between Brian Lara and Jimmy Adams in Jamaica in 1999. Ramdin's second century of the year is his 3rd test. Only Jeff Dujon, with 5 more, has a more amongst West Indies wicket-keepers. On reaching 527 for 4, captain Darren Sammy declared the West Indies innings. Tamim Iqbal started the Bangladeshi reply with a fiery 72 off 71 balls. But when he and Shahriar Nafees, who made 31, departed the West Indies, regained a stranglehold on the match. The home team ended in the precarious position of 164 for 4, with the capable Shakib Al Hassan on 16 and Naeem Islam 27 being the not-out batsman. More news after the break. Local businessmen are being urged to steer towards 21st century innovative techniques in order to keep ahead of their competitors in the global market. This was a message from Chairman of SM Jalil Group of Companies, Dr. Ali Mohammed, as he shared with his peers as he addressed the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce's 8th Annual Business Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
The private sector says the evolution of business here in Trinidad and Tobago must change if we are to keep up with the pace of business done across the globe. Speaking at the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce 8th Annual Business Hall of Fame induction ceremony, Chairman of SM Jalil Group of Companies, Dr. Ali Mohammed, says keeping ahead of the market means keeping ahead of the times of the changing business world.
The question is, can we survive? Can we survive in this global village as a small island economy with relatively small business in a global context? The answer is yes, because nobody owns the future. The future is up for grabs. Nobody has a proprietary right to the future. The question before us is, how do we invent our future?
The event was attended by Minister of Finance Larry Hawai and Minister of Trade Vasant Bharath. Addressing the gathering of businessmen, Dr. Mohammed urged his peers to be mindful of the environment they create for their employees, as they had the power to create the change needed in the financial sector.
We must move away from control, order, and predict to acknowledge, empower, and acknowledge, create, and empower. We must acknowledge that none of us is as great as all of us. We must create an environment where we can unleash the hidden potential of our people, and then we must empower them. Make no bones about it, we cannot enter the 21st century through incrementalism, doing more of the same.
He took the chance to share the success behind his company's creation of the Chubby soft drink, well known among children today.
So we looked at the kids market, and eventually after years, almost 2 years of a lot of research, we decided that we had to develop a new container that could fit snugly in the hands of kids and fit in a lunchbox. And that gave rise in 1993 to the birth of Chubby. Today, Chubby, that bottle is patented in over 100 countries worldwide. It's a Jalil creation. Chubby is sold in over 60 countries worldwide in 5 continents. Our vision, our strategic intent is to have it, God willing, in 80 to 100 countries by 2020, making it the first ever global beverage brand to be created from a developing world country.
This year, businessman Caribbean Communications Network Chairman Joseph Esau, banker Ronald Harford, and Jeffrey Inglefield, a local insurance stalwart awarded posthumously, were inducted into the Chamber's Hall of Fame for their contributions to the local business landscape. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
That's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Thank you for joining us.